Welcome to AI for Instructional Design. My name is Chris Zirkle. My partner is Jesslyn Saunders. We're the DLCs for Region 1 Secondary. Our session outcomes are first to kind of look at having a human-centered instructional design with AI. So educators are going to leverage NotebookLM to unpack complex curriculum standards and design high-quality instructional resources that are grounded in whatever your content is. So we're actually using AI to help us to unpack and understand and work with and create resources and materials from what we provide. We want to automate some of the production of multimodal instructional resources. So for example, videos. Educators will master NotebookLM's Studio Suite to instantly generate customizable study aids, FAQ sheets, assessment tools, podcasts, videos, presentations, infographics. There's a lot in the studio. And then we're going to vet those resources with coworkers before actually using them with our students. Uphold data privacy and accuracy standards. So we want to participate in doing everything we can to ensure the privacy and safety and protection of our students. Providing there's very little information, personal information about students, focusing more on the curriculum and the content of the curriculum in this scenario here. So why use NotebookLM? So one of the reasons we want to look at using NotebookLM is to help us to save time that we would usually use to synthesize ourselves, to process information, to read through, summarize, then go and create all these resources and work through our curriculum and plan. So we're going to use AI to help us to do that, but we're not using something that's traditional like a large language model like Gemini, like more of a chatbot where you would upload your instruction and ask it questions. There's more of a chance that it could have hallucinations and pull from the general web and have content in there that's not really reliable, whereas NotebookLM is source grounded. So it just goes based off the sources that we're going to provide. I'll demonstrate that for you. It's active engagement versus passive research. So it helps us to search and create resources that are based from our curriculum, and it kind of helps us interact with our own curriculum. By looking at our curriculum and then creating a podcast about it, it's summarizing it for us or explaining it or whatever you want it to do, and the directions for it is pretty amazing in my opinion. Participants will also demonstrate human-centered instructional design. So by partnering with NotebookLM to unpack curriculum standards and generate secure standards-aligned instructional resources. But we're the driver, we're the designers, and NotebookLM is more of an assistant. So Notebook Studio, let's talk about that, and we'll go in and I'll demonstrate all this live in NotebookLM. But there's a section at the top right called Studio, and it has audio overviews, which with the pencil there, you can prompt it and give it more an idea what you want to do. There's video overviews, mind maps, reports, flashcards, quizzes, infographics, slide decks, and at the moment, data tables, which to me is new. And sometimes you look at NotebookLM and you see something different or something new. Even when you are looking at this, there may be something different about it when you look at it, depending on when you see this video. But for the most part, some of these can be downloaded, and then you can upload them other places. For example, the video and the podcast. Some of them are like internal only to NotebookLM, so you have to project your screen and show them what it looks like inside of NotebookLM because it's staff only. So not everything can be extracted at the moment, but for the most part, you can download or export and then use it in other places, and then students can access it there in Canvas, for example. So the podcast, again, one of my favorites. It literally blew my mind the first time I heard the two hosts going back and forth. There's even an interactive mode where you can interject and ask questions. It's pretty amazing, and the video overview is kind of like an animated slide deck with a narration, which is again, you can use the pencil to kind of give it a little bit more of a specifications. The infographics, I think, are pretty amazing because I'm very visual. I like them. Of course, review everything first for accuracy, and mind maps as well. And slide decks, which I use often. The only drawback here is that once you export them as a PDF, it's not really easy to go and edit the text. And I've had a couple of exports that had some minor things. You can try to go to Canva to edit and then edit grab text and see if you can edit it that way. Otherwise, it's pretty much locked down. And sometimes I've covered things up with like a block and then put text over that to fix something. As far as ways to actually use NotebookLM, there's many other ways you can use NotebookLM other than the way I'm going to demonstrate for you. But I'm looking at it from a teacher perspective, admin perspective, unpacking the curriculum. Whether you're new to the class, you've taught the class before, maybe the curriculum has changed, the standards have changed, you just want to use AI, you want to use technology to organize your resources and to lesson plan with it, or create resources that you would vet with your PLC before using with students. You can also research and interact with various sources that you provided. So since we're working with curriculum, I'm going to be pulling from 8th grade science. You can choose if you want to just experiment, explore, to have something to use some of these other folders. But really, it would help if you had your own content. You went to CMAP, found your curriculum, what's in there, and used those resources. But I'm going to just basically have pulled everything from 8th grade science for a unit. You can open up in these folders and explore. That's what I'm going to be using to demo NotebookLM to you. So if we go to our Wake County portal, we can see that you can add it by using the plus button, add it to library, or if you already have it, go ahead and navigate to NotebookLM, open it. You can also get to it through the Google shortcut waffle. So when you get to NotebookLM, you can see in my dashboard I have quite a few notebooks. But once you're in, you can hit the plus new notebook. And let's say in this scenario, because I'm using this to help me with curriculum support, I want to understand that NotebookLM is going to use my sources to synthesize. And I think of it as lenses that it looks through and incorporates. So the very first thing I put in here is the Wake County Public School System, the vision, the mission, the core values, the aims, the goals, everything I put in here. So it's going to have that as a source and see through that lens, so to say. And then once you get that in there, if you so choose to do that, that's just my practice. Let me show you one that I've uploaded the curricular resources to. So I made one here as a demo. So here's the same information as far as the mission and vision of the Wake County Public School System in the middle. It's just kind of a generative summary. It's just where you chat with it down at the bottom. And when you chat, the results are going to appear there. So it's just what's there for now. I wouldn't bank too much on that. On the left are all your sources. And if you uncheck them and check them, all you're really doing is chatting or interacting with that one source in the middle where my cursor is. For example, if I check this one resource and go and hit the audio overview, which I call podcast, it's still going to include every single source that's in here. It's going to synthesize everything into one that includes it all. So that's what I was saying. If you want say an audio podcast just on about the slide deck that you're going to go over with your students, and you want an audio version of that, then you create a new notebook that, like for example, mine is called Podcast Generator, and I just have one source in there at a time. I would bring this same source here that I have, the slide deck for this particular lesson and unit, and then incorporate that into the notebook, and then come over here to the right and hit audio overview and create a podcast just for that one source. So when we come into a notebook, let's just go over the interface. At the top left, the little circle kind of with those lines there is where you get to go back to your dashboard. And you click back into the notebook you want. the next button is Add Sources. There's a wide variety of sources you can add. Don't forget to look down here. You can upload a wide variety of file types, websites. You can connect it to Drive, and of course, copy and paste text. That's how I got the Wake County Vision in there. I copy and paste it from the website. You add your sources with that button, then your sources appear here. If they're uploading and spinning for a while, I usually hit refresh at the top, and then they'll pop up. And there's little icons on each one that represent what kind of source it is. Mine are primarily PDFs and copy text. So on the right are the features in Studio, which again, we talked about. If I make a podcast now, it's going to take everything that's here and synthesize it all into one, which isn't bad. I can attempt it because this is basically, if you look at unpacking it, the main original unit guide, then unpacking the lessons for each of those, and then the resources, the vocabulary that are going along with it are all in here. So it just has that one layer of the Wake County vision and mission and core values and so forth in there that's going to use to kind of look through as it responds to my request. So I could generate a podcast here. If I click the pencil, I can say, the format of it: brief, critique, deep dive, debate, the duration. And then down here, you can think of it as asking the AI host to focus on in the episode. So you may want to say, give me just an overview of this whole unit in 8th grade science. And give me a big picture of what I need to know as a teacher. What's the end goal? What's the assessment like? How many lessons is it? How many weeks of the unit? Whatever you want to ask it, put that into this box down here. Then you would generate it. And then you can come to the video overview, and again, explainer or brief. You can even look at the different design visual styles that they have to choose from. You can add custom, and then again, give it something to focus on in the prompt below, and then generate the video. But it's going to be one video that's going to incorporate everything, whether these are all checked or one is checked or not. That's just when you're chatting in the middle down here. See how none are selected? So it's not going to let me chat. I have to select at least one source to get into the chat below. So keep that in mind. Reports, flashcards, same thing here. I can, by default, the difficulty level, the topics. Then you come to the quiz, and same thing. Fewer, more, easy, hard, and the infographic, which I like. You can have a visual style that you want. You can even choose landscape, portrait, or square. And the level of detail, give it a prompt down here. Even choose a language down here. And then we're almost done. Slide deck, which I like to use. Give it a prompt here. Again, it's not really easy to edit once it makes it, so hopefully it doesn't have very many things that need to be repaired. And then the data table, which is new to me. But there is what you want it to create based on what you type in the prompt. So how can you practically use this as a teacher as far as instructional design and working with your curriculum and getting support from it? Once you have all the sources in there, for this particular step, I'm going to have them all selected because I want to interact with all of them. And I'm asking for an outline of the whole unit, a pacing guide, and that follows each lesson. And I'm going to see what it gives me out of that first. You may ask other questions, like again, the vocabulary is in here. You may generate something in Studio. Maybe you have to go to a separate notebook and just have one source in there to use Studio if you don't want it to incorporate the other sources. But here it's giving me an outline and the objectives, the pacing guide, the number of days. And now I want to ask it to help me prepare the students for the final assessment by providing me with maybe some other project alternatives other than what's in here as far as the essay, because maybe an essay, maybe it's one way students can demonstrate their comprehension, but maybe you want to take it beyond the essay, have them demonstrate it by creating something, including the 4 C's and technology. Then that's my next prompt. Okay, so I have my prompt in here to create 3 projects that students will use to demonstrate their comprehension of the unit, and the objectives of the final assessment and essay include technology options and collaboration, and I'm going to generate that. So I'm looking for it to make something that doesn't exist in my curriculum, which is other ways to assess students besides the essay, and it's given me 3 separate projects here that have technology options. I have to read through this, of course, and here's a final artifact, a formal letter to an elected official, and it's got to meet the requirements of the grading rubric. So you can use this to plan with, and then you can also use it to create things in the studios that you may use with students. So that's just a demonstration of using Notebook LM to unpack curriculum, to understand it more, to plan with it, and to generate resources for students that you do vet with your PLCs.